Hey Raymond, this is Corey, and in this video we will cover your in-depth SEO audit worksheet. I'm going to kind of just record a video going over all of my findings and kind of show you my thoughts on your website. So first of all, your website is really great and one of the highest rated that I've audited yet. So good job on all of your work so far, but hopefully we can still find some valuable insight for you here in the in-depth audit. So before I get into the worksheet, I just want to do kind of the typical first overlook that I do when I do like my free website reviews, and just kind of look at your homepage and talk about my first impressions, and if we can figure out the point. And you've actually done a really good job on all of that. I can tell this is, you're an Indianapolis wedding photographer. Seeing pictures here that confirm that. Your menu is right here, simple, easy. I like that it's not overcrowded, and you have everything that I would want to find right here in one place. I love the way that you display your personality throughout the site, and I do like the fact that you kind of jump right into showing off your different categories or your different blog sections here on the home page. All of that is really good. The first thing I think I would do on this site is just kind of flip through some of these images. And I mean, the arrows make that easy to do, and it works as expected, although I'm having to click this twice to get it to load. They load immediately. Maybe it's just because it's take a little bit of a delay. No, for some reason I have to click it twice. Not sure why. So one thing that I would maybe mention here on the homepage, as far as like just my general thoughts and UX, is this is just a little bit jumbled in the formatting. I think you could do a little bit better job here. Potentially bold a few words right here so that I get the main idea if I'm skimming. I would even put this "is that you" on the second line instead of all together on one line. This is a little bit overwhelming. Or maybe make that a different color or something like that. And then here, I mean, you could center this under the photo, and just little things like that I think could clean up the look of this and make it much easier for me to scan. Whenever I scroll down, this just felt a little jumbled at first, but I think you could probably clean it up and make it so it didn't feel that way. And then this feels unimportant for some reason, I guess because the text is small, and this is kind of like spaced out and big, and I mean the same size text, but this whole section is bigger, and this just feels like, oh, more text. Maybe put a little subheading here. So I'll talk about this a little bit more in the audit, but you have kind of a big heading here, and then you have another, you have a heading here. I would potentially make subheadings, H2s, for every section of your site. So here it would be like more about me, and then here it would be, recent weddings, recent engagement sessions, tips and tricks for photographers. If you're going to use this section here, I would potentially move this off of your home page, because I like okay, so this is tips and tricks for anyone, not just photographers. Maybe kind of personal. So I don't know if I would call it tips and tricks. Maybe call it something that your client might be interested in. So like it could be personal. I don't know if I would put this on the home page. I love the fact that you have some of these things. I'm just not sure if they are a fit for this particular section. That's just an opinion. The other thing that I noticed is here on the reviews, I feel like this should stand out more. Again, kind of like this section, it's just kind of bleh. I'm going to skip it because it doesn't seem important. Although I think having the reviews here and scrolling through is good. I can't really figure out how to scroll through them unless I click on these little dots. I can't like swipe or click an arrow or anything. Maybe swipeable on mobile. If I were you, I would find a way to center these. I'm not sure what this best wedding photographer is and why it doesn't have an image. Maybe it goes with this. Maybe make that an image instead of a text link. I would center these and make them all one color so that it's not so distracting potentially, or at least try to get them around the same size. Right now, this is again kind of jumbled up on this page. You got your Instagram feed here, which is fine, and then some kind of boilerplate copy down here. and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the audit. So in general, I really love the homepage. It has a lot of the elements that I want, and I'm not going to get too much into the whole thing as far as UX and everything like that goes right now, because I'm going to kind of cover some of that here in the audit worksheet. I just wanted to kind of give some initial thoughts on the homepage that were more about design, like those layout things, before I get into all the technical SEO. But in general, I like the design, I like the layout, and the information that's included here. And I would just say, there's a couple little tweaks there. Let's go ahead and get into the SEO audit. So I'm going to pull that up now. It's in a spreadsheet. All right, so we have your site. It's on Squarespace. Just done this review today. Main target keyword, Indianapolis wedding photographer, and you're currently ranking in position 18 for that, according to my SERPs.com checker, and also an incognito search verified that is approximately correct. And so we're going to start with an offsite SEO audit. So basically, this is everything before someone gets to your website or that is not part of your on-page SEO. And so we cover kind of the basics here. Your domain authority right now is at 13 and homepage authority of 25. Now, I would say I'm not 100% sure. I didn't really do a full competitive analysis here, but typically for a city like Indianapolis, you're going to want to be probably in the high 20s, or the high teens at very least, but kind of the mid to high 20s to be extremely competitive on the homepage. And really, you probably want to get into the 30s for domain authority. And typically, domain authority is primarily influenced by the number of links that you have, or the number and quality of links that you have coming to your site, which, right, by the way, Moz is only discovering 3 established links, and there was a little bit of an issue with that we'll talk about again in a second. But if you can get this up, your domain authority up higher, you would easily rank better, be more competitive, let's say, for ranking on the first page, especially since you're already on the second page. I think this is a key factor for you. All right, so branded search. So what we do with a branded search is we just go onto Google, search for your name, and kind of answer some of these questions. So are you the first result? Yes. Number of first page results. So how many of the results on the first page are you or related to you, and all of them? That's perfect. That's exactly what you're going for. Is there an info card? Yes. Address displayed? No, but it's displayed on Facebook, and so you might as well just put it on Google as well. I have a whole video about that on the Feel Your Photos YouTube channel, where I talk about statistically you are much more likely to show up in the map pack if you're displaying your physical address than if you're not. So you have part of the address display, but not the whole thing, so I would recommend displaying your full address there. Site links, yes, but there's a problem where if you type in your brand exactly, RHatfield, all one word, Google doesn't like the word. It thinks that RHatfield should be Hatfield, and it tries to correct it automatically. If you tell it, no, I meant to search for RHatfield, then it will show the site links, but without it, it does not show them. Still shows the info card both ways. SERP features, you have all of the images it looked like. Reviews, so when we search for RHatfield photography reviews, are there reviews with stars and rich snippets? Yes. The knot showed up with the rich snippet and the stars, and you had 5 stars from 8 reviews. Number of Google reviews was 0, so that's definitely something you want to work on. Again, so we have right here, if you included your address in your Google My Business listing, displayed it, got 10, 15 Google reviews, and keep in mind that doesn't have to be from wedding couples. That can be, and it can be from more than one person at the same wedding. You could have a bride review you, a groom review you, a bridesmaid review you, a mother review you, a vendor who worked at the wedding review you. You get 5 easily out of one wedding. And that's not unethical or against the rules. If they worked with you, if they know about you, if they've had an experience with your company, they have all the right to review your company and say things about how the experience was working with you in any capacity. So that's just a tip for you there. And it could be portrait sessions. You could do a day of mini sessions and get 20 reviews or something like that, potentially. if you're asking people. Now, I don't say that you should ask for reviews and give something in exchange. That can be against the rules. You need to be careful with that kind of thing. But anyway, the point is, get your reviews up, get your address displayed, get your domain authority up, and man, you would be able to kill it just with those 3 things we've already found here in the offsite review. Okay, so social, basically we just look to see if you have these profiles. These are kind of the big ones that I want to look for. Sometimes I just see if there's any others that you're featuring, which you had Snapchat. You had your link to your website on all of these and used keywords on all except for Instagram. So just seeing if you use Indianapolis, I keep saying Indiana. Seeing if you use that word in your profile, and you did on all of these except for Instagram. Also on Instagram, your link's a bit.ly, which is less trusted, which means less people are going to click on it. People don't want to click bit.ly links because they're not sure where it's taking them, and so it feels suspicious. I think that you could make that a link like RHatfieldphotography.com/Instagram so that you could track it. There's other methods for tracking incoming clicks from Instagram if you want, but I don't recommend using bit.ly for that. Just a little personal tip there. Okay, let's move on to the Onsite SEO audit. So this is where it gets really juicy. Talk about all the things. Now, again, you actually did really well with yours. First thing we want to look at is your domain working correctly? Now, here's something interesting. Your site is using the non-www version. You can see that up here. But whenever I looked on Moz to see how many links you had, the www version is the one that was getting more links. Now, in general, this is not a huge deal that sometimes they're back and forth, especially when you have 301 redirect from one to the other, which in your case, that will be automatic with Squarespace. And if you have canonical version, which again, Squarespace also does that. So it's not a huge deal, but it's just something to note, and that if you can get people to link to the non-www version, it's going to be better than having them link to the www version, just so that it's explicitly clear that this is the primary version of your domain and that those links, count for the right domain. Again, not a big deal. See, you still got this green because you do have the 301, so it's not a huge problem. Just an interesting note. URLs should be clean and easy to read. Okay, so if we just decide if I want to go over to this right now. So you have this whole thing with your best Indianapolis wedding photographer blog, and I think that's really long. I would rather just have like weddings. Honestly, I understand trying to get keywords into your URLs, but in this case, I think it's a little bit of overkill. And then there's an issue with like multiple blogs and having different URL structures. So down here you were using dates, up here you're using this for the weddings, and then down here you have just blog, and then you have engagements, and then I think you have, maybe you don't have the wedding tips as a separate one, but you have multiple different URL structures for your blog posts, and that is not ideal. So the best situation would be to have your domain /blog/post name. So kind of like these here. That's, in my opinion, the ideal URL structure. And you can use keywords in the post name, but don't go overboard. It's not a big deal for it to be like what you have on these post names is perfect. This one's getting a little bit long, but a couple of these are a little bit long, but most of these are just right. So I'm not going to tell you to like go in there and kill this. Although if this were my site, I would fix up some of this stuff. I already talked to you privately about the / here in these URLs, but it also appears down here. There's a few, and down here there's a few more. I'm not sure if there's any more. I haven't like examined every single one to see, but I would go in and remove the / and clean up. I would make this shorter, and then I would try to find a way to consolidate. But I think you have these on separate blog modules or pages in Squarespace, so I'm not exactly sure what to tell you on all of that. Just if you have 2 or 3, then you have, but keep it short, like how you have just engagements here. The only thing is, when you do that, you're going to have to do redirects for all of these to make sure you don't have some soft 404s. And just to make sure that Google knows what's going on, it's going to be very helpful to have redirects, because these pages, a lot of these are already indexed, and so you want Google to just replace the indexed page with the new correct page. And they'll do that automatically with redirects. They'll do it anyway, but it might take a little bit longer, and you'll get 404 error messages in Search Console, and that'll be kind of annoying. So anyway, I would do that if it were me, because you don't have too many. I mean, you only have like, less than 100, it looks like. I would still say it's worth it. But that's a personal, I'm saying that to you also knowing that you are fairly tech savvy. And so I'm just saying that would be what I would do. All right, let's go back over to this. You've passed on all of these things. We look to see if you have the main pages that should be appearing on your site. Now, I did mark yellow here because I like to see that you have some type of gallery or portfolio or work, and you have it. It's just that you're using your blog to show it. So if we look over here, if we go to one of these, it's basically like your wedding portfolio, just kind of showing posts. Now, I like that method. It's just the naming convention. So when I see blog, I'm expecting this is okay. This fits my expectations for blog. It's just, maybe I'm trying to think, is this the most logical way to organize this so that people understand exactly what they're getting whenever they click this? So if I called this recent work or something like that, and then I had engagements, weddings, and then I'd probably remove this from this menu. I don't think you need to remove these posts from your website, from your blog. But if your blog just went to kind of a regular blog page, I think maybe you have it if we go to /blog. Yeah, something like this is kind of what I expect to see for a blog. Now, this in particular doesn't have featured image, and there's only 2 posts. If this had featured images and maybe a little bit longer snippet, and then 10 posts or 5 posts, and then you can click to older posts, I would be okay with that being your blog. Or maybe you have kind of the categories highlighted at the top or something like that. And then this being recent work, engagements, and weddings, and being exactly like you have it. Again, these are just kind of thoughts. They're yellow here because the way that you have them is not terrible for SEO. It works. It's just a matter of usability. Is it explicitly clear what you're trying to, or what people are going to get whenever they click on those links? All right, let's keep moving on. You've passed a lot of these things. I'm not going to go over every single one. All right, include any relevant schema in Open Graph. Your OG title, so Open Graph title, is set to home. So if we look at that over here in the object debugger from Facebook. So Open Graph, by the way, is part of Facebook. So your site has these meta tags that are OG : site title type. It's basically like schema. It's just specifically for Facebook, so that they know what to display in their knowledge graph, basically. And so this is a preview of what will be included. So you see, if someone just shared a link to your website, it would show this logo kind of cut off, and it would just say home, and then you'd have this meta description. So you could optimize this a little bit better and go into, for some reason it's saying this is your OG image, but this is what's getting shared. I'm not sure what's up with that. But you could definitely go in here and fix this up a little bit so that this was better than home, and you had a better image displayed here whenever someone shares this on Facebook. Schema was fine. You had the main schema included. So loading, your site loaded in exactly 5 seconds. So that's kind of my, you have to load in 5 seconds. I have one down here that needs to load under 3 seconds. That's kind of a little more secondary. But Google suggested that you could optimize, I think that's supposed to say 2, optimize images. You could save 1.7 megabytes according to Google with lossless compression. So certainly something to consider. And then you passed all of these things. Keyword stuffing. Okay, so at the bottom of your home page, actually on every page, this is boilerplate copy. That means it's on every page in the footer. You have these like cities. It's still debatable whether that or not that's a bad thing. I haven't concluded my study on this yet. I am in the process of collecting and analyzing data. And so just a really short overview. My thought is that this will not be helpful unless maybe one of these cities has almost no competition and no one else was showing up for it, and Google's like, well, maybe this page would be a good fit because it does mention that word and no one else is showing up, so let's throw it up there. But if that's the case, I mean, there's almost no chance that someone's actually searching for it. And so the very, very few times that you would ever show up for a search using these keywords, it's probably not worth making your page look all spammy at the bottom. And so personally, if it's in boilerplate copy, then the chances of you actually showing up because of that is very, very slim. So boilerplate copy is, a lot of people will tell you, well, it's duplicate content and Google hates duplicate. Well, that's not actually true. And I have that on good authority from several people who work at Google. In some of the Webmaster Hangouts, they have said very specifically, that is not a problem for us, but we're going to attribute that copy to the page that it fits with, and it's not going to really help all of those pages rank for those keywords, but it's also not going to hurt them. So it may help one of your pages rank for some of these keywords, but it's very unlikely in this case. All I'm saying is the chances of this helping you are very slim, in my opinion, and whenever I get done with that study, I will let you know if I have something more conclusive to tell you on that. But I wouldn't include it in my personal experience. Maybe a few of them if they're like some places that you work very frequently, but only if it helps the user have confidence that they should hire you, the visitor of your site. Okay, so let's move on to the home page specific things. We finally have a few. Look, you made it yellow and green the whole way through that first section. That's very impressive. Not many people do that. You have a couple of red ones here, finally. You have very little red on your entire audit here. So we're looking at the home page. We're looking at title, meta description, headings, images, and body copy. So your title does not include your brand name. So if we go back to your home page here and look, let's go ahead and pull that down. There we go. So it's just Best Indianapolis Wedding Photographer. And honestly, let's do this. We're going to search for Indianapolis Wedding Photographer, and you should be around position 18. There you are. And it's just showing that title. A lot of times Google will rewrite this and put your business name in there, like you can see it done here. Anytime you see one that's just the name and the colon, it's likely that Google rewrote it. And it's not rewriting yours, but I would suggest putting your name before this. There's no reason not to, because you have the space, and Google likes it that way. I think you have the space. It may be kind of tight, and in a second I'm going to talk to you about this best thing. So anyway, let's move on, so I don't get ahead of myself. Okay, so your main keyword, yes. Correct length, could be a little bit longer. Meta description includes keywords or variation, yes, but compelling to click, no. I would say that this particular meta description on your homepage is not compelling to click. In fact, I don't like the fact that you have this in title case. This should be regular sentence case. And honestly, whenever I'm looking at your site in search results, like whenever I find it right here, I don't really care about the fact that you enjoy a good laugh and getting outside. Like, that's not even on my radar at this point. Now, I like the fact that you're showing off your personality on your website, but in this case, in your meta description, I want you to tell me the benefits, why I should click. I don't really care about you. I want to know what's in it for me at this point. Now, getting to know you on your site, you've done a really good job of making your personality shine through, and I love that. But the meta description is not the place for it. Especially not your homepage meta description. That should be the one that is really giving your main reason that someone should hire you in 156 characters. So you're a little bit over the character length there as well. Okay, let's move on. Headings. So on your home page, you have this. This is kind of a header text that applies across all pages. And again, remember what I said about boilerplate copy. It doesn't necessarily hurt, but it also doesn't usually help whenever it's on every page. So this is not really helping your homepage rank. Well, maybe, but it's not likely to be helping as much as if it were unique to the homepage. So one thing I would consider here is taking this out of the header for every page, and maybe even adding a tagline in here for every page. It's not so important for search engines. Kind of like, I think you have it somewhere. It's like for, maybe it was on your Instagram or something like that. Wedding photographer for fun and adventurous couples. If you just put that here, and then take this down underneath this title, underneath this navigation, and put it as an H1 on your page. So it'll be this font size. You can make it a little bit smaller if you want, but put that right above this image slideshow, and make that your H1. And then you want to make this plus all the headings I was talking about earlier into H2s. So those are the subsections of your page, whereas the H1 should be the main point of the entire page, and your home page is the one that you want to really focus on, Indianapolis wedding photographer. And you don't necessarily need this on every other page because, again, it's boilerplate at that point. It's not helping as much. Okay, so everything else here passes. Images, you have some alt text that is using dashes. If you look here, like wedding couples, Mass Ave, groom smile at bride altar. Like the way that you have all of the rest of this worded is perfect. It's just a few of these that are still using dashes. It probably just stripped it out of your file names, and the text is not bad. It's just that you shouldn't use dashes in your alt text. And body copy is good. Let's go ahead and go to contact pages. Okay, so I do the contact page here on this main audit because there's really just a few things we're looking for on the contact page. We want multiple methods for contacting you. And again, you have the address listed on your Facebook page. I would put your address on here somewhere, even if it's just down here in the footer somewhere. Maybe not in this footer for every page potentially, but somewhere on this page have your address. It lets Google verify if you list it on Google My Business and then list it on your website. They're saying, yes, this is definitely increasing the confidence that this is the business that we want to show. Also, the formatting of your phone number. I'm guessing maybe you're doing it like that to try to prevent spam robots from picking it up or something like that. But you're also preventing Google from recognizing it as a phone number. And so I'm not saying Google can't figure it out, but again, what we're trying to do is increase the confidence that it's the right information. So in that case, you want to format it in the way that Google formats phone numbers, and you can actually find out by looking at how they format it. Parentheses here, space, 3 digits, a dash, and then the other 4 digits for the United States. And so you want to format it the same way Google likes it formatted so that they're sure that that's the right information. All right, and then let's go back here to you have email address, contact form, and social media profiles. That's good. So you passed on all of those except for you don't have an address, and the phone number formatting is not standard. Okay, so important elements. These are not critical elements like these, but they're still important. And so these are fix these soon, and then down here we have other, review these, so you can decide on if you want to fix them. So in user experience, I like the fact that you had that custom 404 page with the kid looking out the window, looking for something. That was really fun. But it didn't make it clear that I was on a 404 page, so I recommend adding like 404 error, this page is not found, and then say that your little sentence that you did, just because I was like, wait, is this the content? Oh wait, no, I'm on a page that's it's broken. So you do have some 404 errors that we need to look at, so I have those down here for you. And the majority of this comes from a little bug in Squarespace where there's a certain thing you have to do, and I can't remember how to do it exactly off the top of my head, or I would just tell you right now. You're going to have to Google it. But basically what happens is I think it's a sidebar thing where or like some element of the page that is included in the template, and if you delete it a certain way without deleting it the other way, it stays there kind of behind the scenes in the code. So the robots are crawling this and getting all of this information from the template. Look how many things there are here. But that page is a 404. Even though it's there in the code, it's not there visibly. And so we needed to remove that from the code. There's a way to do it. I fixed this before for someone. Basically, you had to go in, re-enable the sidebar, delete it before you deleted the element, or something like that. I can't remember. Like I said, you'll have to Google that. There was a Squarespace support article about it, so if you Google it, you should be able to find it. And there's a few right here at the top. Don't worry about these JavaScript so much. That's going to be outside of your control. A few right here, though, where actually it's really only these two that maybe you could fix on these pages. You'll have a link to these two places. These are external 404, so not hurting your SEO, but hurting your usability. If someone tries to click that, they're like, crap, well, that website didn't work. I was really interested. You want to delete that link or find the new link. All right, back to Onsite. Under 3 seconds, we already talked about that. No, Google said optimize your images. That probably would help you significantly. And let's see here, boilerplate copy. We've already talked about that pretty extensively. And okay, so avoid duplication on every post and page should have a unique title and meta description. You can see in your site crawl that that is the case here with your titles and metas. And that is the first time I've ever seen that in all the audits that I've done that someone actually passed all the way on that. I mean, you have these 404 pages, which is not a big deal. I'm assuming they just got deleted, which I'm not sure why they're still links. But anyway, yes, you passed that, and that is really great. I'm proud of you for that, Raymond. Okay, so other elements include name, address, phone number on every page. You have some of it in the footer, but you don't have the address. Again, that's why this is just kind of a review these. You don't have to do this. It's just I like to have the address on every page. So again, Google can verify it for sure, but not a big deal here. Outdated content at a glance. It looks like your content's up to date. That's up to you to do a deeper audit to make sure that there's nothing in there that's kind of old and outdated that you don't want people to see. Few other notes are things like best and award winning actually helping you. So you have those on your site in several places. So you have that whole the whole wedding blog is interesting. If you look here in the URL down at the bottom of the screen, it just says wedding blog instead of that whole long wedding URL. I wonder how you get to that. Interesting. I'm not sure why that's the case. Anyway, but you have it in that URL, and then you have it in the meta description for your homepage, and you have it on your homepage right here. Award-winning Indianapolis wedding photographer. And here's my thought. Whenever I think of people who say, hey, I'm the best Indianapolis wedding photographer, or I'm the award-winning Indianapolis wedding photographer, I think of I had to be careful because other people are going to watch this. I think of the old school photographers who are more concerned with winning awards than interacting with their clients and providing awesome photos. Now that's, again, I'm trying to be careful. That's not necessarily a problem. I understand winning awards, and there's some really cool print competitions and things that you can enter that really do help you hone in on your craft, and all of that's true. But I think that the whole award-winning thing in a client's mind is kind of whatever. Everyone's won an award for something, and or at least that's how I think. Of course, maybe I'm jaded because I've been in the photography industry, but But anyway, the whole thing is, I feel like it doesn't fit with your brand and your personality and your persona that you're trying to kind of project here on your website, where, hey, I only photograph awesome couples, and you have all these things, little kind of jokes that you insert, and just, I feel like the whole award-winning and best wedding photographer doesn't serve you well. That's kind of an observation I made. Double slashes, we've already talked about this, but you need to remove them. But you have to redirect, so you don't get a whole bunch of 404s. I already talked to you about those theme leftovers just now, and then the page subheadings. Okay, so that's one other thing here. If we look at like the about page, actually I think the pricing page might have been the one that was really bad. So if we look right here, this text is extremely hard to read up against this image. I can barely read this right around here. So that's definitely something that you want to fix. I don't know if maybe you can put a box behind this with like a light color or something, but it's just hard to read this. It frustrates me when I come across these. I'm like, I can't read it. Skip it, whatever. But I like the text that you have here. It's just that I can't read it. Okay, let's see. That's everything on this page. So then we have kind of this section of the audit for each page. So in these audits, I will do, your home page. I'll check those things on your contact page, and then up to 3 other pages on your site, kind of picked from these main pages that I think should be included. So I did about, pricing, and kind words on yours, and I'm just going to cover the things that did not pass on any of these. So on this one, it's just page speed. It's a little bit slow, and the H1 could include a keyword instead of just about me. That's pretty good. You've done a good job on this one. And then on the pricing page, we had a couple of things. Again, with the H1 containing a keyword, so it could be the whole Indianapolis wedding photographer pricing or something like that, if you wanted to. You have multiple H1s on this page. I'd recommend paring that down to just one and then having H2s for everything else. And then the alt text, you had dashes on about half of the alt text on that page, and almost down to 3 seconds on that one. Here, this one is one that I feel like we could probably make some improvements. Kind words. So I'm fine with the fact that you're using kind words here, but let's just see. Up here, it's Indianapolis wedding photographer reviews. So obviously this is a keyword that people might actually search for. But instead of using it in your URL, I would rather the URL be reviews, or kind words even, and then use this in the page title and in the H1. So in this case, your page title is kind words, Indianapolis wedding photographer RHatfield. I would want this to be Indianapolis wedding photographer reviews, Raymond Hatfield, or something like that. And then the H1, right now you have kind words, and then this one has a double H1. So this is probably the H1, and then this should be an H2, or this should not be an H1. I mean, this probably should be the H1, and then this should be an H2. You could include a keyword in the H1, but it's not really that critical on this page, in my opinion. Let's see here. So I could recommend using reviews in that title at least. I'm not going to tell you need to shorten your URL if you don't want to, but I would. I think it helps with your site links and site structure and making it easier. But I'm not going to get too deep into that topic. Let's see here. So dashes on the alt text again, and then finally, this one, all the other pages have like a contact form at the bottom, but this one, you get to the bottom and you had to scroll all the way down here, and you saw all these awesome reviews, and you're like, yes, okay, I'm finally ready. All these people said he was awesome. He must be awesome. Wait, what do I do now? And so I would definitely include that contact form here as well, probably with a fun call to action. Hey, all these people liked me. Think you will too? Maybe not quite like that, but obviously you're good at those kinds of wordings, and so you'll know exactly what to do. And everything else is good. Okay, so we've covered pretty much everything. I also included this template if you want to go in and audit some of the other pages on your own based on kind of the way that I did it there. And like I said, you have your 404 worksheet here, so you know which ones need to be corrected. And then you also have the site crawl, which has a bunch of information if you ever need it on your site and kind of what you have right now, and you can get an idea if you need to improve anything. In your case, well, this looks really good. There's not much that needs to be improved as far as titles and meta descriptions. The URL structure, like I said, I would fix some of those things if I were you, but probably not critical for your SEO, although I think it might be helpful. So that is basically the end of your audit. I hope that you have found something here that you will be able to change and implement and find some improvement for your website. If you have any questions, of course, just reply back to me or send me an email, whatever you'd like, and I will be happy to help with anything else. All right, talk to you soon.